Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Match+Book, a series on the EBPL podcast. My name is Paul Kibala. I'm the Adult Services Librarian here, and I will be your host. This is our final episode for the time being, but we hope to get another limited run series of the Match+Book podcast going again this spring with all sorts of different topics and genres to cover. So please, I'll be asking for your questions and we'll be responding to them in the next few months. Our first question today is from someone who says, I like books that make you think, but I also like to change it up a bit with humor and romance. I love reading Jodi Picoult books because they are usually controversial topics and thought-provoking. So I tried to choose some books that meet, because those are different criteria, but I tried to square the circle a little bit. And the first suggestion I had doesn't really touch on the humor as much. It's more about the thought-provoking, controversial nature of it. But the next two, I tried to fold that in a little bit more. So the first suggestion I would have is Little Fires Everywhere, which was recently made into a miniseries for television with Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon. This book came out in 2017. It's by Celeste, who is also the author of Everything I Never Told You, which came out several years before that. So this book really touches on a lot of themes that I think our question asker is looking for. It concerns a family in the Shaker Heights neighborhood of Cleveland, which I'm not sure if anybody's aware, but it's generally known as an upscale, very nice neighborhood. And it concerns a family who owns their own house, and they have a house nearby that they rent out to other families. And the matriarch of the family, Miss Richardson, she tries to rent out to people who she thinks need a break in life, need a little help. So she rents it out to a traveling artist named Mia and her daughter. This situation starts out with the best of intentions, but the families quickly intertwine in ways that set off a number of thorny ethical and moral topics. It starts with the fact that there's class issues involved because of the Richardsons' wealth, Mia and her daughter's relative poverty to that, as well as Mia and her daughter are Black and the Richardsons are a white family. So there's a host of compelling and intriguing issues that arise as a result of bringing up issues of motherhood, adolescence, race, rules, right and wrong, ethical concerns, things like that. So I would definitely put this in the thought-provoking and controversial area. And anybody who is looking for that with a compelling backbone of a story as well. It's not just hitting on themes, but the story itself ties these themes together in a way that is very intriguing. I would definitely recommend that one. My next recommendation is a little bit lighter, a little bit on the more comedic side, but still contains some themes that I would consider thought-provoking as well. It's called Reincarnation Blues. It's by Michael Poore, and it concerns a man named Milo who is on a quest to be reincarnated 10,000 times in an effort to unlock the secrets of immortality, to discover how he could become the best version of himself he possibly could be. If that sounds ridiculous and obscene, it's probably because it is. I would recommend this for fans who also like reading Neil Gaiman, Kurt Vonnegut, Terry Pratchett, that kind of literature. These seemingly unending quests from all different walks of life take us on so many different paths that we wouldn't normally go down. So we're going from the future to the past. We'll be transported from India back to Renaissance Italy, back to present day. So the author uses this reincarnation quest to go down so many different lanes and really mine that for humor, but also pathos, I would say, as well. He has a lot of interesting things to say on how to discover your best self while also keeping it whimsical at the same time, and this combination makes for an excellent read, I would say. The last book I wanted to recommend on this subject is Spoonbenders by Daryl Gregory. It concerns the Telemachus family, who is famous in the book for performing inexplicable feats of magic and of the psychic nature on late night television. And one day on live television during one of these feats, the magic fails to materialize and they are shunned from the limelight for what they think is forever. A series of very wacky events arises where the CIA, the mafia, and a horde of unrelenting skeptics kind of draw them out of seclusion, and there's kind of a resurgence of the family, and this goes in all different directions that you couldn't possibly imagine when you start reading the book. It's interesting to see how the family has progressed from when they stopped performing to current day in the book is 1995, how they've reacted to these changes in their lives and the various eccentricities they've all developed. I'd say what the book particularly succeeds at is drawing you in with the character development, creating all these puzzle pieces, and then somehow seemingly fitting them all together in the last third of the book in ways that make sense, that seem like they shouldn't. The payoff is amazing, but it also comes out of nowhere. It's like a mystery novel almost in that way. It ties together these threads in ways that are comedic, but also heartwarming, and really develops a connection between the reader and the family. We have one more submission today, and it comes from a reader who says, I've been watching some shows about the relationships between Native Americans and American society at large. It saddens me to see the social problems on reservations, and I'm interested in reading nonfiction about this. So probably my favorite book on this topic is Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann. It's a true life murder mystery in some ways, but it's also a deep exploration of how Native Americans are systemically taken advantage of in American society. It concerns the Osage Indian Nation in Oklahoma, and in the 1920s, oil was discovered beneath the ground of their reservation, making them the richest people per capita in the world at the time. So they lived in luxury after this. They lived a life of luxury, but afterwards, it didn't take too long for people outside the tribe to take advantage of their situation, because people who weren't Native American, they didn't care about the well-being of the tribe members, and they just wanted to exploit them for their resources and their wealth. It didn't take long before members of the tribe quickly started disappearing in mysterious circumstances, and the local law enforcement was reluctant to do anything about it, investigate these in any meaningful way, because it simply didn't value their lives. You get some really great insight into the lives of the members of the tribe, as well as the non-members who lived in the area. Eventually, the members of the tribe were forced to have guardians of their estates, could only be non-members. So they started intermarrying, but this also led to them being taken advantage of by the guardians of their estate, and this brought on a host of all new issues and really laid the groundwork for systemic disenfranchisement. Now, at the same time, in American history, the FBI had just been founded. When local law enforcement fails to do anything about it, the FBI steps up in what became one of their first major homicide investigations. It's these two really fascinating stories, very American stories in their own right, coming together at the same time in our history. And we see how the FBI is able to infiltrate the tribe so they could get a better look at how the tribal members are being exploited. This book is currently being turned into a movie by Martin Scorsese, and I think it's an excellent idea because so many of these issues in the book about the role of American government, ill treatment, Native American culture, society, and the way they're viewed by society at large are still really significant, pertinent issues, and I think it's great to shed some light on that. The last book I wanted to talk about is called Our History is the Future: Standing Rock versus the Dakota Access Pipeline and the Long Tradition of Indigenous Resistance by Nick Estes. At the heart of this story is the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota and how they set out to block construction of the Dakota Access oil pipeline, which eventually grew to be the largest indigenous protest movement in the 21st century. This is the heart of the story, and Estes goes back and forth between how they were able to prevent the construction of the pipeline, along with many other stories of infringements on Native American land. It is often a really heartfelt book and does a great job of the ongoing struggle to be seen as equals in the United States. And in doing so, he goes all the way back to the founding of the United States, back to when Pilgrims first came over. He goes all the way back to the 1600s, but he also uses contemporary examples to show that there's so much work yet to be done. And in this way, the book functions as a history of this struggle, but also a manifesto of how to move forward and how to mend these relations, and how this is not something that will come to a neat, tidy endpoint, but is something that will require constant vigilance. So please check out those books if you're interested in any of those subjects or genres. And I wanted to let you know the EBPL podcast can be listened to at anchor.fm/EBPL library or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to Melissa Hosick, our editor, and thank you for listening. Hope to be back real soon. Thank you.